Genealogy nerds, I talk about DNA a lot. Here's what you need to know. DNA always requires a paper trail. Let's talk about that. Paper trails can be really complex. We have to understand who creates records about all these events in our lives. Let me give you one example, a marriage. I got married. That marriage record is a state-created record, but I got married in a church. And so there was actually a church record for my marriage. And my marriage was announced in the newspaper, my engagement too, for that matter. So I've got a state record, a church record, and a newspaper record, but that's not all. Well, after I got married, I changed my name to include my husband's surname, and that was a federal record change because I had Genealogy nerds, DNA testing always requires a paper trail. Let's talk about that. Last video, I talked about marriages, but even more records are created when someone passes away. The state creates a death certificate. Think about all that happens after that. There could be medical records. There's maybe a funeral home record, cemetery records. There's probably probate records about that. There are announcements in the newspapers. There's all sorts of information that are created by different people, by different groups and organizations regarding someone passing away. Don't forget church records or other places of worship. It's not unusual for the businesses surrounding someone passing. Genealogy nerds, DNA testing, which I talk about a whole lot, always requires a paper trail. And I live in Florida, so let's talk about taxes. One of the things that people outside of Florida talk about is appealing about Florida is that we don't actually have state income taxes. But let me tell you something, the government always gets their money. You might have heard this phrase, the only two things that are certain in life are death and taxes. In genealogy, it's taxes. It wasn't until 1912 when the United States federal government mandated that states produce vital records, birth, marriage, and death records. If your ancestor died before 1912, there may not be a death certificate out there for him or her, but I'm going to almost guarantee you that there's going to be a tax. Genealogy nerds, I talk about DNA testing a lot, but the reality is that it always requires a paper trail. This is part 4. In parts 1, 2, and 3, I talked about marriages, deaths, and taxes. And hopefully what you took away from that is that there are lots of different organizations, entities that are creating records about major life events. But the next part of this question becomes, where are those records located now? You got a marriage from 200 years ago. Who in the heck holds the marriage record? Any genealogist out there talking about this subject is going to mention one website for you to begin. FamilySearch.org is a fantastic resource for any of your genealogy research, but their research wiki